Hydrogen oxygen fuel cells. Fuel cell is an electrochemical cell in which fuel cell gives up electrons at one electrode and oxygen gains electron at the other electrode. Fuel cells are increasingly used instead of petrol to power buses and cars. The fuel is stored in tanks in which the vehicle, tanks in the vehicle and oxygen comes from the air. The energy released in the fuel cells produces a voltage which can be used to power the electric motor of the vehicle. One type of fuel cell is hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. A hydrogen gas and oxygen gas are bubbled through two porous platinum coated electrodes where half reaction takes place. Oxygen flows through the external circuit from the negative to the positive pole as they do. So the energy is used to drive the electric motor or the other device. Okay? Take a look. We have a proton exchange membrane in between. On the two sides, the two respective electrode sides, porous positive electrode coated with platinum on other side, and the same but negative electrode on the other side. Hydrogen goes in through the negative electrode side, oxygen goes in through the positive electrode side. The voltage or voltmeter connects for the electron flow from the negative electrode to the positive electrode, and we get water at the bottom. The proton exchange membrane is usually filled with an electrolyte, which is usually an acid. If that happens, it's an acidic hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. If the electrolyte is an alkali, which can be an option, which previously has been an option in the past, it is a basic or alkaline hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. Okay? Different examples, acidic or alkaline, are used in questions, though that is not a matter of question they ask. They only use it as a part of statement of the question. Okay? So it is used to drive an electric motor. The overall reaction is like hydrogen is reacting with oxygen to produce water. A hydrogen oxygen fuel cell is an acidic electrolyte, is used as shown in the figure. At the negative electrode, of course, hydrogen is going to go with the oxidation reaction of loss of electrons, producing hydrogen ions, which pass all the way through the proton exchange membrane, as H positive is proton. Okay? Electrons move around the external circuit where then they can do a useful job of work, for example, driving an electric motor. The hydrogen ions diffuse through the membrane to the positive electrode. The reaction at the positive electrode is hydrogen ions plus oxygen plus electrons give us water. Take care, because oxygen plus electrons can, with the help of hydrogen ions can form hydroxyl ions. The hydroxyl ions can further react with hydrogen ions to form water. Okay. The electrons travel through the external circuit from the negative electrode to the positive electrode. Fuel cells have several advantages over petrol and diesel engines. Water is the only product. No carbon dioxide, no harmful nitrogen or other oxides are released. So there is no pollution concerning fuel cells. Fuel cells produce more energy per gram of fuel burnt than petrol engines do. Number three, they're very efficient. The transmission of energy from the fuel cell to the motor is direct. There are no moving parts, so no energy is wasted as heat. Plus, the engine is very quiet when it comes to that. Okay? As there are no moving parts, of course, there is going to be no noise from the engine. So they have a lot of advantages. Is this portion clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving on, there are some limitations to hydrogen oxygen fuel cells. Number one, high cost. The materials used to make the electrodes and membranes are expensive. Manufacturing of fuel cell involves the production of toxic byproducts. So if it's not produced during the usage, it's produced during the production. Storage of hydrogen, high pressure tanks are needed in order to store a sufficient amount of fuel. At present, refueling has to be done more often compared with a petrol engine. Manufacturing hydrogen, the hydrogen needed for fuel cells can only be produced cheaply by using fossil fuels. If you are going to go for an expensive method, you rather need to use electrolysis, which is a very expensive method. The only way electrolysis can be cheaper is by solar energy, which again requires a lot of capital. So yeah, it's expensive. Fuel cells do not work well at low temperatures. If the temperature falls below 0 degrees centigrade, the fuel cell freezes. So fuel cell can be a very good option with the countries closer to equator, but the countries that are far away from equator, fuel cell is not going to be good, be a good option because the entire fuel cell freezes. So that's all about fuel cells, the limitations, the advantages. So it's one of the parts, it is thought to be an easier question when it comes as a part of question in A2. Take the questions, however, are made difficult with some mathematical calculations like these, like in question number 32 and 33. Go through these questions. Once you're done with these questions, you find them easy and more of mathematical than chemical. This concludes our work for today, and we're going to start with electrolysis tomorrow. Do you have any questions, or should I wind up the class?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, then. Take care. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz, sir.